Hey team, welcome back to Rosspec. Sorry about the noise, but today I'm going to introduce you to another one of the Rosspec vehicles. This is actually one that's a little bit special. This is my very first car, a 1980 XD Fairmont S-Pack. It's had many iterations through its life, but it was actually born a one of one. I only found that out recently when I asked for Ford for the verification letter, and we're the second owners, and the original owners were actually family friends. And so the father of the family, he ordered this car in ghost gum, 6-cylinder, cast iron head, C4, 3-speed auto, with a vinyl roof. Like, I think it's called Camel Tan vinyl roof. I reckon the vinyl roof is what made it the only one that was ever built in that specification from the factory. It's had a fair few engines in its life too. It started off with the cast iron 4.1, and then we put an alloy head 2 4.1 out of an XE that my cousin rode off, and at the same time we changed it to a 4-speed manual. We then built a bomb motor for it, which the basis of that motor was a XF EFI engine, but it was still running a carburetor on it. We'd put bigger valves, higher compression, big cam, and you know, back in the day, that engine was good enough to run door to door with my mate's father's ELGT when we did a drag race. Its current build started in 2013, so it had always been a 6-cylinder for its life, but I decided that I was going to go with V8, and I couldn't bring myself to spending lots of money on a Cleveland, and I wanted fuel injection. So what do? I go out and I buy a whole roadworthy AU XR8. It was one that somebody had set up to do some track work in, but don't feel too bad for it because it had had a hard life, and it definitely had a big knock in the front and the back at some stage. Oh, the engine itself, it wasn't just it started life as the 185 kilowatt engine, but the guys who we bought it off had already, spent some money on it. It had SVO heads, the GT40 tubular intake, roller rockers. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of a cam in there as well. They also put a short shifter on the gearbox from a Mustang. So when I drove there, I bought it in Toowoomba. When I drove back to Brisbane, the shifter was actually left-hand drive, so it was all the way over the wrong side of the car. But yeah, I chucked an EF shifter on it after that, and it was all good again. Is that a turtle? No, it's a dolphin. So we drove that XR8 to, start the build, and our first job was we pulled out the old 6-cylinder and dropped out the V8 from the XR8, mounted some Cleveland engine mounts to it, and the chassis mounts as well, and everything just bolted in perfectly. All we had to do was fabricate a transmission mount for it, and even the AU XR8 tail shaft was the right length to match the diff. Well, that was the first week on it, and then I had to go back to Brisbane, and then I came back to it again, and we spent another week on it getting up and running. So there was running the fuel system, doing the wiring harness, all that. Big thanks to Dad. He did a lot of the wiring harness stuff while I was setting up all the fuel system, and that actual week there we actually fired it. But this is when the tail turned sad, because then it sat. It sat for a very long time. The problem was I ordered myself the FGX XR8, so that took the funds away from this project. And then not long after that, I ordered my first Mustang. So it sat in my father's shed for a very long time. And you know what? He got sick of looking at it. So you know what he did? He finished it for me. What a winner. So what he ended up doing was he fit an AU LSD ute diff into it. It's pretty much AU ute all the way from the engine to the back. The exhaust system on it now is a little bit quiet. It's a factory XD V8 exhaust. I think it's twin 2-inch. But I remember when we first started up and it was running straight out of the headers. Oh my goodness, it was blowing flames a foot long. So what happened to the leftover bits of the AU? Well, they're around, so some of it's here, some of it's here, and some of it's right here. Leaving it in the weather because I didn't have any garage to store it in at the time, and then my brother was using it for a while and it lived out in the weather too. It needed another, you know, the rust removed again, and yeah, the paint touched up. So it's had a respray as well, so it's got a nice slick new paint job. Other thing, he had the interior retrimmed, so it's the same color as what the original Fairmont trim would have been, but unfortunately it doesn't have the velour inserts or carpet underlay anymore. But you know what, it's tidied it up a bit. The only thing we haven't changed from when I used to drive it around when I was in school is the wheels, and it really shows it. The wheels they've seen their life, and it's time for a new set. That must be first on the shopping list. This brings back memories. But no, I really have to thank Dad, because without him, this thing would probably still be sitting unfinished in his shed. And that would be really sad. But in saying that, this car could have quite easily, 2 times in its life, either been sold for scrap or go to a wrecker. So it's good that the old girl's still on the road and she's not looking too bad. She's not a show car, but she's definitely a nice, clean street car, and I love her. Alright team, that's it for now. Just introduce you to my first love, the old XD, which I lovingly call Betty. This really, while it's not going to be super fast or handle super well, it's just fun to drive, and it is part of that thing that says, you know, there's more to going fast than going fast. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and until next time, I'll catch you later.